Out of the cameras of a few keen amateur railway photographers in the last 2 decades of steam locomotive action on British railways came some fascinating cine footage, recording the end of an era. This series of videos is aimed at uncovering some of those unique movie shots taken during this period. The shots are basically unedited and therefore are in no fixed order, but rather than risk cutting out anything of interest, we're presenting them as they emerged from the camera, warts and all. Volume 2 begins at Nuneaton Trent Valley Station as these 2 Stanier 8Fs haul a freight train towards the Birmingham line. This 260 Hughes Fowler Class 5 locomotive was leaving Birmingham New Street Station. These engines were nicknamed Crabs. Also at New Street, we see Royal Scot 460 number 46143, the South Staffordshire Regiment. Burton-on-Trent had its own complex railway network serving the breweries. For most of its existence, it employed only steam traction, although towards the end a few diesels appeared. In the late 1960s, a decision was made to transfer all business to road transport, and sadly, the network closed. A small museum now occupies part of the site of the railway. We move to Hornsey Station on the East Coast Main Line and see A3 Pacific number 60047 Donovan heading for King's Cross. The J15 was at Tottenham. As was former LMS 260 Class 4 number 3149. And this N7. B17 number 61666, Nottingham Forest, heads north at the same location. The Thompson 460B1 filmed at Finsbury Park. Also at Finsbury Park we see A3 number 60103, the Flying Scotsman, and A3 Donovan again, this time heading north. From the eastern region to the southern, this is unrebuilt Bullet West Country Light Pacific number 34067, which was named Tangemere. The location is Basingstoke. Also at Basingstoke, we see S15 number 30507, a 460 freight locomotive. And this Merchant Navy Pacific on an express working. This 1949 Hawksworth 060 pannier tank was filmed at Paddington. At Birmingham New Street station, we see one of the Scottish-based Royal Scot Class 460s. Number 46103 was the first to be rebuilt. Two more 460s at Birmingham New Street. Both were Jubilees. The first one, number 45608, Gibraltar. And the second, looking distinctly ex-works, was called Vernon. Across the city at Snow Hill Station, we see this ex-Great Western Railway's 282 tank engine. And this 062 tank engine still shows signs of its ex-GWR origin. Back at New Street, this Royal Scot was named Grenadier Guardsman, and at this time was based at Crewe. And now some interesting engines on display at Derby. Firstly, we see Thundersley, a locomotive built in 1909 for the London, Tilbury and Southend Railway. Engine number 42, Cecil Rakes, was once the Mersey Railway's heavy 064 tank shunting engine. This is Thompson B1 460 locomotive number 61044, leaving Sheffield Victoria Station. .62664 and 62668 were both original D11 developments of the D10 Director class. This 28004 class locomotive was at Gorton, as was 440 D11 number 62662, Prince of Wales. Another ex-LMS 460 Jubilee class locomotive. And Royal Scot number 46116 Irish Guardsman at Birmingham New Street. These locomotives weighed 83 tons. Also at New Street, another Jubilee. .5302 was a Stanier Black 5. It was one of a large class of very successful 460 tender locomotives, first introduced in 1934. This Jubilee, number 45709, was transferred from Longsight Shed in Manchester to be locally based at Bushbury. Whereas this one, number 45644, Howe, was still Longsight based when this shot was taken. One Royal Scot taken near Marston Green. before we return to the eastern region. 60829 was a Gresley-built V2 engine. This A4 was named Woodcock, and the name Durham Light Infantry was bestowed on V2 number 60964 in April 1958. Another A4. This one was named Miles Beaver. One of this class still holds the world speed record for steam locomotives. This one, number 60007, was named after its creator, Sir Nigel Gresley. The A4s put in some sterling work on the East Coast Main Line, only to be replaced in the early 1960s by the Deltic diesel locomotives. From Peterborough to March, 65420 was a Class J15 introduced in 1883. At this time, the late 1950s, March was home to a variety of different steam classes, as will be seen from these shots. On show this day were 01 number 63868, B17 number 61636, B12 number 61568, and of course a ubiquitous Thompson 460B1. Engine number 61000 was the forerunner of the class and was named Springbok. Some more B12s. These inside cylinder 460s dated from 1932, and 62069 was a 1949 peppercorn-built K1. We moved to Edinburgh on the Midland main line, where we see a Jubilee on an up express. On the shed were 2F number 58215 and former Crosty boilered 9F number 92025. Another Jubilee on the main line. And this Britannia. 46252 was a Stania Princess Coronation Class Pacific, as was 46245 City of London. These engines were filmed at Crewe North Shed, as was this unrebuilt Patriot class locomotive number 45533 Lord Rathmore. Also, on show that day were Royal Scot number 46128, Webb coal tank number 58926, and Princess Royal number 46205, Princess Victoria. Crewe was a must for all fans of steam engines in the 50s and 60s because of the sheer amount of different London Midland locomotives which could be seen there. A few miles from Crewe is Chester. Approaching the city, we see this Black 5 on a passenger service and Jubilee number 45678, D. Roebeck. The year was 1960, and this location, Swindon. This fine array of old-timers were on view at the works. Also present that day was the then brand new Evening Star, the last steam locomotive to be built by British Railways. Rebuilt Patriot number 45522 Prestatyn hurries by between Marston Green and Lea Hall. And this is Black 5 number 45134 leaving Wolverhampton Low Level with a down train. And to the southern region for our next few shots. This is 35030 Elder Dempster lines at Vauxhall Station, just outside of Waterloo. Heading light engine for Waterloo was this rebuilt West Country Pacific number 34032, Camelford. This BR Standard 262 tank engine was making heavy work of its task. Another Bullied Light Pacific. And Camelford again, having picked up its train, the Down Atlantic Coast Express. We move to Clapham, and this is BR Standard 264 tank engine, number 80143. Some more workings at Clapham. The BR Standard Class 5s were a similar engine to the Stanier Black 5s, but they had a slightly higher tractive effort. This West Country Light Pacific carried the name Brentor. Back to the Midlands again, the East Midlands this time, and Nottingham Victoria Station. This is 01280 number 63863. A Gretley V2 and an N2. This class dates back to 1925. This 260K3 was filmed at Grantham. It was a 1924 development of a Gretley GN design. Still at Grantham, we see consecutively numbered A3 Pacifics 60049 and 60050. They were named Galtymore and Persimmon, respectively. At this time, engine changes were common at Grantham. Another 280 8F locomotive. This one was a Class 02. Engine number 60118, Archibald Sturrock, was a peppercorn Class A1 Pacific. A1s had 6'8" diameter driving wheels and a tractive effort of 37,400 pounds. Some miles west of Grantham is Derby. At this location we see Ivert Class 2 number 46500, an ex-War Department Austerity 280, another Ivert Class 2, and this 264 tank engine. The Stanier Black 5 was also at Derby. Another Black 5, number 45280. This locomotive was Saltby based. It's seen piloting a Jubilee. This former Great Western tank engine is seen assisting a failed diesel multiple unit. BR Standard Class 9 number 92128 spent many years shedded at Leicester. It's seen here about to descend the Lickey incline. Struggling up the bank was this Stanier 460 Jubilee class locomotive, assisted in the rear by two former Great Western pannier tanks. Blackwell signal box. Another Class 5, this time a BR Standard Class 5, is also assisted in the rear by two former Great Western engines. This former London and South Western Railway coach was filmed at King's Norton. It left behind another Black 5. We move once more to the East Coast Main Line. This is Peascliff Tunnel, and this is a Class A3 Pacific. V2 number 60930 emerges from the tunnel. Another Class A3, this one fitted with smoke deflectors. And A1 number 60141 with a down Pullman train. Yet another Class A3. And another Gresley N2 062 tank engine, this time near King's Cross. Still on the eastern region, but now at Liverpool Street Station, this is 70000 Britannia, an engine which lives on to this day. Another Britannia, this one was named Geoffrey Chaucer, and unlike its sister, was one of the first of the class to be cut up. We return to the Midlands for our next shot. This is King Henry V, preparing to take out the Up Cambrian Coast Express from Snow Hill Station. Still in Birmingham, these next few shots were taken from the old station platform at Saltley. The procession of light engines were led by an ex-Midland 0604F tender locomotive. And unrebuilt Patriot number 45519 was named Lady Godiva. She was a Fowler design of 1933 and weighed 80 tons. 43680, an 0603F locomotive, was somewhat lighter, weighing in at just 43 tons. But back to Basingstoke on the southern region. This is 34073 249 Squadron, an engine which was rescued from Barry Scrapyard for preservation. Bullet Pacific number 35007 was called Aberdeen Commonwealth and was one of the Class 8 Merchant Navy locomotives designed by Oliver Bullitt in 1941. Another merchant navy speeding through Basingstoke. And one of the smaller West Country Pacifics on the Down Atlantic Coast Express. Finally at Basingstoke we see S15 number 30503, a Feltham-based engine for much of its life. Stechford Station outside Birmingham is where the avoiding line via Aston leaves the main Coventry to Birmingham line. When the Trent Valley section of the West Coast main line was closed for engineering works, some expresses were diverted via Stechford. Here we see one such diversion behind Stanier Pacific number 46239, City of Chester. And in the opposite direction, Britannia number 70047, the only class member never to receive a name. The first station north of Snow Hill was Hockley. This is King John on a Down Express. Also at Hockley, we see BR Standard 9F number 92234. These engines had a tractive effort of 39,670 pounds. Another King. This was number 6029, the last member of the club. And another former Great Western 062 tank engine. The only 440s to survive from Great Western days were the Duke dogs. Although antiquated in appearance, they dated from the mid-1930s. They were rebuilds incorporating Duke-type boilers and bulldog frames. These two were at Shrewsbury, preparing to take out a special train. Black 5 number 45353 is seen at Preston. It was at this time an Aston-based locomotive, having been transferred from Crewe South. And another Black 5 at Preston. Some miles south at Crewe, we see former LNWR 080 number 49454. This engine had been fitted with a tender cab, which were essential on these engines, especially for winter tender first running. Crewe was famous for its Stanier Pacifics. All 38 Princess coronations could be if one had the patience. Engine number 238 was named City of Carlisle. and 46228 was one of the class members to be named after a duchess. This one, Duchess of Rutland. (46248) was named City of Leeds. An 060 Ginty tank engine of 1924. And still on the London Midland, now at Weeden, this is a Jubilee on an up express. Royal Scot number 46106 on a down express. And a green Princess Coronation on another upworking. This signal box at Weeden controlled the junction from Daventry. This was Britannia number 70031, Byron. Followed by an unidentified Prince Pacific. And the Stanier Class 8F brings this freight working off the Daventry line. Finally at Weeden, we see this Black 5 just outside the station. The other side of Daventry was Southam and Long Itchington Station. The line from Marton Junction to the cement works here at Southam survived until 1984, but all passenger trains ceased in 1959. This Great Western 062 tank engine was seen at Stetchford on a special train. And 1945 built Hawkesworth County number 1010, County of Carnarvon, was at Snow Hill. Fowler 264 tank number 42400 was across the city at New Street Station. But 062 tank number 6683 was back at Snow Hill again. Also at Snow Hill on a snowy day was this Castle class locomotive. Visitors to Normanton in the 1990s would hardly recognise the scene from these shots taken in 1960. A steady stream of freight workings and light engines were the order of the day. Sit back and savour steam at its very best. one can only presume that Rovers for the Cup referred to Blackburn. Back in the Midlands once again. This 8F is seen at Bescot. At this time, steam, diesel and electric traction could all be seen at Bescot. Another DMU failure. This one is being rescued by a Stania Black 5. Back at Snow Hill, we see 9F number 92247 on this down ore train from Banbury. And Northampton-based Black 5, number 44760. Note the Southern Region brake van. Back to Shrewsbury again, and BR Standard Class 2, number 78018, on this Esso train. These locomotives were very similar to the Ivert Class 2s. A pair of BR Standard Class 4s, also at Shrewsbury. And 44897 was at Wolverhampton low-level station. Wolverhampton low-level station has not been demolished, although today it's severed from the rail network. The BR Standard 260 Class 4s were a mixed traffic engine and were common on this line towards the end of steam traction. .76087 was typical, having been transferred to the Western region from the Manchester area. Finally at Wolverhampton we see this Stania Black 5, presumably off to Stafford Road Shed. we move back to the East Coast Main Line once again, this time south of Thirsk. This is Class A1 number 60138, Boswell, followed by a Thompson Class B1. The last Royal Scot to be withdrawn was number 46115, Scots Guardsman. Here it is at Rugby. Also seen at Rugby was this Stania Black 5. And Britannia number 70029, Shooting Star. This Britannia was conveying Tottenham Hotspur fans to West Bromwich Albion. And this Royal Scot was named London Rifle Brigade. Behind Princess Coronation Class number 46228 as far as Bletchley. The train had come from Llandudno and was en route for London Euston. Stania 2808F was also seen at Bletchley. Ex-Great Western Castle Class 460 number 4079 Pendennis Castle is seen at Swindon. She was booked to work an SLS special this day and is seen here preparing for the task. Transferred from Wolverhampton to Bristol in the late 1950s, this castle was one of the lucky ones not to end up as scrap metal. She's now preserved in Australia. This is part of that SLS tour behind 4079, rounding the west curve at Didcot. The former GWR 060 was at Oxford. And now brief excerpts from on the Cotswold line between Cheltenham and Chipping Norton. It was April 1962 and the engines doing the hard work were former GWR Collet 262 tank engines numbers 4104 and 4106. Another shot of Pendennis Castle at Oxford. before we move out into the countryside to Whitnash, south of Leamington Spa. Firstly, we see King George V. Followed by number 5955 Garth Hall. On the down line we see a standard class 9F 210 with this freight working. And a southbound class 38. This mogul was on an iron ore train from Banbury. To the north of Leamington is Budbrook, where we see this castle-class locomotive on the Up Pines Express. A little further to the north is Hatton Bank, where this northbound castle was filmed. A Stanier Class 8 also heads up Hatton Bank with this freight working. And in more wintry times, at the same location, a Bullard West Country Pacific on a special train. At Hatton itself, we see 060 number 2210 on a train from Stratford-on-Avon. And we end Volume 2 with some shots of former Great Western Railway's 262 tank engine number 4112 as it picks up wagons at Hatton Station.